The year is 4791 in Australia, 1974 in the rest of the world, and Prime Minister Gough Whitlam has a plan. He'd been elected 2 years prior as the first Labour PM in decades, but there was one small problem. Like the US, Australia has both a House and a Senate. Whitlam's Labour controlled the House, but the Senate remained in Liberal hands. This meant that several bills Whitlam wanted passed ended up stalled in the Senate. However, there was a legislative election coming up where half the seats in the Senate were up. Gough sees an opportunity in Queensland. Each state has 10 senators, and Labour could reasonably win 2 seats. Unfortunately, that still would not be enough to flip the Senate. Not unless another seat was up for election. Enter Senator Vince Gare, a man who is well past his prime in politics by 1974. He had had a successful career in Queensland as a member of the Labour Party, but had eventually been kicked out and formed a splinter party, the Democratic Labour Party. Now he was on the precipice of being kicked out of the very party he had founded. Bitter, exhausted, and permanently drunk, the man is looking for a way out of the Senate. Whitlam offers to make him the ambassador to Ireland, the country he had strong ancestral ties with. It was an offer he can't refuse, and he accepts. In order to take the post, he needs to resign from the Senate, meaning that his seat would be up for election in the upcoming half-Senate election. If everything goes to plan, Labour would get the majority they wanted. Of course, things are never that easy. The Premier of Queensland at the time, Bjelke Petersen, is an enemy of Whitlam, as well as a real character whose story could fill up another video which has already been made by somebody else probably. He's responsible for issuing the writs of election for the Senate seats, and if he can issue them before Gare resigns, he can strangle Labour's plan in its cradle. Since it matters at his discretion, it should be simple, right? Again, never that easy. He has to first consult with the Governor of Queensland. To quickly clear up some terminology here, the Premier is the elected one in Queensland, whereas the Governor is a royal representative. While this consultation is entirely advisory in nature, and Bjelke Petersen will get his way, it's still another delay. Gary could resign before the consultation was done, and 6 writs would have to be issued. Something needs to be done to delay him. It's here that the night would get its name. To stop him from resigning, Senator Ron Mounsell invites Gare to his office and presents him with whiskey, wassail, and wombo prawns. Now, Gare is no political novice. He knows exactly what the consequences will be for Whitlam if he doesn't present his resignation quickly. But frankly, he doesn't give a shit. He chooses to spend the evening drinking and gobbling up shrimp. He is ushered into the Senate momentarily for a vote, but otherwise the revelries continue uninterrupted long into the night. Meanwhile, Bjelke Petersen is continuing to learn that things are never going to be easy. The writs need the governor's official seal. The seal is inside a safe. The safe has only one key, which is possessed by somebody who is not present. They have to go send a cab to retrieve the person and the key. This whole process also stretches long into the night. Finally, at 1:20 a.m., the deed is done. The writs are stamped and issued. Gare's seat will not be up for election. Gare and Mounsell leave at 3 a.m., at which point his blood alcohol content is 2, and approximately 10% of his DNA is crustacean. He goes to take up his ambassadorship, and the night of the long prawns ends. Whitlam is forced to seek alternative ways to get his agenda passed, now through constitutional provisions against deadlock. Initially, he tries a double dissolution election, where both houses of parliament have every seat up for election. This fails to get him a Senate majority. Next, he calls a joint sitting of parliament. During a joint sitting, the Senate and House were mashed together and turned into one legislative body. It was a procedure far too Australian for my feeble American mind to comprehend. Since Labour has an overall majority when combining their House and Senate members, they can theoretically pass all their bills with that majority. Of course, things are never that. Wait, never mind, it actually works. The bills get through and nothing bad ever happens to Whitlam ever again. Before becoming ambassador, Gare addresses the Democratic Labour Party, which has just kicked him out one last time. "I've carried you bastards for years, and you can all go to buggery." He continues to be Vince Gare in Ireland, being a habitually drunk nuisance now with a side of sexual harassment. He is dismissed from his position in 1976 when the Liberal Party returns to power, and he dies in 1980. Many people say he is still looking up at us, sipping on a succulent shrimp cocktail to this day. Today's fish of the week is the African elephant fish. Just like African elephants, these fish are only found in Africa. Also like elephants, they are surprisingly intelligent. Unlike elephants, they can produce a weak electric charge around them using the same basic mechanisms as an electric eel.